All right, everybody, welcome. Welcome to New York's finest retired and unfiltered podcast. I got my guest here today, great guy, Yuri Dashevsky. Yuri's running He's running election to the United States House to represent New York's 8th congressional district. He's running against Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries in the primary secured 19,222 votes in the Democratic primary. In the 2020 election, in the general election, he received 234,000 votes. And he's still holding that seat currently. So I wanted to bring Yuri on. Yuri's running. He's in Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn. He's a great guy. I've been interacting with him on social media. I have a lot of friends that introduced us, and we want to push him way over that 235 mark. We want to make sure the vote is strong. We know New York is the battleground right now. New York is the battleground for the United States of America. Brooklyn is home of left-wing maniacs, and we're trying to get common sense people in here. Yuri, I appreciate you taking the time right before the election to come out and speak with us. Could you please tell us a little about yourself?
John, first off, thank you and everybody. It's an honor to be here to share the screen with you, share your audience. I'm happy you invited me. I'm very honored, as I said. And to me, New York NYPD is the top of the top of creme de la creme. They say sounds very sensitive, but I really respect you guys, and I know that you are that blue line that is featured so prominently, and it's basically in this time it's a sign of quality people residing in the house and in the building when they have this flag on with the blue line on it, or they have a sticker on the car. It means that those people know what they're talking about, and we have a lot in common. In particular, I don't ask actually for my voters to have a lot in common with me. I just want us to share a little bit of common sense that this country was built upon and it was famous for, and this common sense brought so many people to this country, including myself. And it's still, whatever people say about the United States today, whatever we ourselves say about the United States today, it still brings crowds of people to this country. Now illegally, though, across this open border, non-existent border, that cannot stand, and that's one of the reasons that I decided to run.
We are a country. We're a country of immigrants, right? All of us. I'm a third generation, but all of us have ties to other parts of the world, right? And we come here and we stand and we're able to speak our mind and share with each other and share and experience each other's culture. Where did you actually come from? Where did you immigrate from?
My family got kicked about during the 20th century and the 21st century now. I represent 21st century pretty much. But the whole of the family was separated early in the 20th century, and there was a big Jewish family in Ukraine. And somehow girls, when they married, their husband went to America. And in America, they earned money to buy tickets. Some of them I know gave tickets. They gave the money. It took like 5-7 years to bring the family here, one family. So they gave money to wrong people. So they had to work 7 years more again. So finally, the girls came here. I think it was 4 sisters of my grandfather. And the boys stayed in the Soviet Union for whatever reason, not entirely clear to me. I think it was kind of sexy, to run around with Bolsheviks or some such, because Jews were oppressed for a long, long time. And then in 1917, it began to look like a new lease on life for Jewish people. Although, of course, they ran under a banner of socialism and red. Severely disappointed later on, thrown into jail. A lot of family died during World War II. They ended up leaving Odessa when the Nazis were about to take over, leaving Kiev, that my mother's family, when Nazis were taking over Kiev, and they fled to Uzbekistan, which is north to Afghanistan, if it's still, anybody knows where it is. It's Central Asia. It's some rocks, some mountains, some steppes, some deserts, some rivers. It's kind of nice place, and nothing like Switzerland, although they like to call themselves like second Switzerland. doesn't matter. So it was a place of exile basically throughout the history of Russia. And they were greeted there. They grew up there and they became adults. They married each other, and they produced me and my younger brother. So I spent there 36 years of my life. And I became a screenwriter eventually. I have education as an architect. I graduated as an architect, having an MA in the discipline, but I preferred theater. I preferred movies, and I wrote some films. I was lucky to get my talent, quote unquote, peak during perestroika times. So things that were unusual, things that were critical to the regime, were allowed to be made. Not unlike now in Russia. But then it was a short window, small window of opportunity that I've used sort of to the hilt. Although I didn't do it consciously, I just wrote what I thought was right. So we made a few films with a friend of mine, director. They were played in small theaters there, and here they got some museum play in the West. I mean, they were in MoMA, they were in Louvre, a place where they show like peculiar movies, socially very charged, and there was not kind of social charge that we accept today here in the United States as something like socialist, like justice, all this kind of stuff. Just marveling at the peculiarities of life and the strange behavior of people, and of course, a strong anti-communist whiff to them. So they tried to put some charges against us because we used this bad words. It was very, very, they didn't like it, the Soviet Union. It was a special punishment for this, using it in public. But anyway, so then Soviet Union collapsed, and I had to do something else. So I got hired by the UN, and they sent me to Afghanistan and to Tajikistan. There was a civil war in Tajikistan that the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees was taking care of. And so they wanted me to make documentaries that would a documentary first one to show both sides, because part of them fled to Afghanistan and part remained, the winning part remained in Tajikistan. So they wanted me to make films that they would facilitate the reconciliation and return of those who fled to Afghanistan, because they were dying like flies in the middle of they were not even allowed to go into Mazar-e Sharif. They were positioned in a steppe, and there was a huge cemetery, and nobody had the right pair of shoes in December. The kids were wearing sandals, like different colors, different sizes. Incredibly terrible, all this was. So I went there. I made 2 documentaries for them because we managed to get them back. They managed to get them back. My part was just to show them possible, whatever video could be that they would believe as truthful, because it was really scary for people to go back. The Amud area, the river between Afghanistan and Tajikistan was red with blood, like biblically red with blood. So, and the neighbors went against the neighbors went on neighbors, and they raised each other houses. I mean, the winning side raised the houses of the other side so they wouldn't be able to come back. They cut off the water water faucets in the house in the streets, because they have to go to the water outside sometimes in some villages. So that was that. It was a terrible hostility. And also the mercenaries from all over former Soviet Union and even from Saudi Arabia and other countries with fundamentalist groups of Islam, they came there, and they also fought, being paid for by different fundamentalist groups. So long story short, then I joyfully made a documentary about the history of jazz in Uzbekistan, sponsored by the U.S. Embassy in Uzbekistan. And with this, I left for the United States at the ripe young age of 36. So now 26 in this country. I've done a lot of things. Being an architect, I'm used to learning new things because it's a very fluid, very flexible trade. You got to know, what's what. So I learned the computer graphics. I learned the multimedia design. And I was part of pretty big projects that were ahead of their time, meaning I didn't make much money on them, but if they would be peaking today, then that would be a big deal. But they were before our time, before this time, came in too early. So eventually, I sold a screenplay. I wrote a screenplay, was commissioned one to write, and was about 10 years ago. I still think it would make a great movie. It's a biography of an American, a real story, life story of a man who was lured into Soviet Union, promised to become like Russian's Elvis Presley, an American singer. Nobody knows about him here. He's still worshipped in Russia. He's still worshipped in Germany where he actually lived after all, because he could not live in Soviet Union. His name was Dean Reed, and he really became like a big star in Soviet Union. Had as many followers as Elvis had in the West. Everybody liked him. He sang American songs. He never made it in this country, big, but he had his 500 million people who followed him, and he tried to become instrumental. I call it a rock and roll spy thriller, because he sang rock and roll, and he said like lounge songs. Very beautiful man, really, not just handsome, beautiful. But he sang songs. Not I don't like him. He's kind of average, in my book. But he was very popular, but he wanted to be very socially active. So he tried to become an agent for KGB. He tried to become an agent for Stasi when he moved to Germany. And it's interesting how he was kind of living a pretty comfortable life, filing his taxes, U.S. taxes, never returned his passport, U.S. passport. And it's a long story short. When Perestroika happened, it turned out that nobody likes him really, and everybody was into the music. It was forbidden prior to the time, and nobody wanted him. So he decided to go back to United States at one point, and somehow I don't know how. It's a movie in a movie sort of. He got Mike Wallace to come to Berlin, and to take him to 60 Minutes, and they made a story called Defector about him. And he told his story. He said, "I'm Marxist, and I think it's time for America to embrace Marxism." And we're talking about year 1986. And his friends called him. He was from Denver, Colorado, and they called him and said, "When you come back, if you come back, just wear the bulletproof vest, because you're not going to make it without it, out of the plane." And he said, moreover, he said in this interview that I'm planning to go back. And if you remember, if anybody of the listeners remember, it was Gary Hart who was running for U.S. presidency, and being a former senator. He was mentioned in this interview by Dean Reed. He said, I will run for his place. I will replace him in the Senate, because there will be an empty seat. That's my plan." So boom, 3 months later, he drowned in a lake by which he lived for, I don't know, 20 years, maybe 15 years. His mother came, she saw his wallet was absolutely dry. No water reached, but it was like up to your, so how do you call it? Then
Like chest or whatever.
a chest, yeah. Solar plexus, I want to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that level of water. He was excellent sportsman. He could ride a horse. He was in one movie even with Yul Brynner. Yul Brynner despised him so much he couldn't sit in the same room with him. And but he's this kind of character, like ultimate opportunist, and that kind of opportunism, I think we see every day in our media. We see how people. I don't believe those people are stupid who pour this garbage in our ears. They're not stupid. They just paid to do it, and they have this something in them that says, no, shut up, never say anything against it. Enjoy the ride, relax, and lie. It's just, to me, it's something that really kicked me to in the head to get up and go into what we call politics here. Now I'm shudder. I shudder when I Google my name and it comes Yuri Dashevsky, a politician.
I mean, you don't sound like much of a politician though, because you're worldly. You have a lot of life experience. We see many politicians. They go to college, spend a little bit of time in college, most of them child of privilege. They have not much life experience, and their career and life's work is in politics, is in decision making in other people's lives before they even know how to run their own. They don't even know how to make their own bed. And then yet they're going to tell people how to run businesses. They're going to tell police how to police. They're going to pass all these laws. So I mean, you're a very interesting guy. I mean, you're sitting in front of me right now. You have a MAGA hat on, right?
Yeah.
Um, how did you, like, when you came to this country, how'd you embrace America? Was America always something for you before you came here? Or like how did you like come to study America and the laws of our land, and what made you embrace it? You have a big, huge American flag behind you. I know you're a patriot. I follow you on social media. Like how'd that happen for you?
Thank you for all your kind words, John. I lived with the idea of the United States entering my life, or my entering life of United States, whichever you slice it, since I was born, because I mentioned that my family, part of my family was here, lived here. My grandfather was in touch with them. He was writing letters to them. They responded. They sent me the records. I enjoyed it, and I I knew that I will end up in this country this way or the other. So when I came here, of course, prior to that, I read a lot of stuff about this country. I watched a lot of movies, like any uh, good citizen.
Yeah.
So when I came here, and I came like anybody, just a regular Joe Schmo, and I took it like a hook, line, and sinker. Certain things, I was never disappointed. I was lucky to get across a number of books. I read a lot for the first 3 years. I read a lot. I read much less books these days. It's all internet now, and the news, and it's not really good. But books opened my eyes, and there are wonderful books written by immigrants, because I was avidly consuming everything written by people who came here before me, and what was their impression, and am I right to think this about that, and am I wrong to think this about that? Because it's important to, you know how shall I put it? Not that I'm dependent on other people's opinion, but I'm very interested in other people's opinions and experiences. And I think this is how civilization is built. It's built on stories. When you live in New York, say, one example, New York, 90% is what you think of New York is a myth. It's a myth. And
What do you mean
we
by
use,
what do you mean by that?
I mean by that people say, you know what, you can go to New York and you will sing on Broadway.
Yeah.
It's one of a million can make it. It's like talking about Hercules in ancient Greece. You cannot do all these things that he's done.
You know, I
But
got
there
you.
are people, once you say that it can be done, there will be someone who will come out and do it. This is a myth, because it moves people to achieve things in life. But if you achieve it or not, it's not even up to you. It's a combination of so many things, including divine powers, including your own abilities, people around you, uh, what you love in life, what you hate in life, your likability kind of index, if I may say so. So that's what I call a myth, and it doesn't stop anybody. Doesn't stop anybody. If you're looking for justice, say, right, in traditional sense, not in the way that they use it on TV
Yeah.
today. Will you find it? Will you ever find it? Does it reasonable to waste your life on that? If 9 people out of 10 tell me now, say, Yuri, why are you doing this? You will never win. It all boiled down to me, to a simple answer. And I started it like months ago, giving people this answer. Bring 2 friends and we win. The ratio now, we have 25% roughly, and Hakeem Jeffries, the Republicans, have the rest, 75%. If you bring 2 friends, we're well over 50%. That's it. Is it hard to bring 2 friends? You know how many people I met who are proud of never voting, having never voted in their lives?
Terrible. Terrible.
Terrible. Are you registered? I don't know. I still have like 40 forms to register people in my car, because I was giving them out left and right. Not a single person came by me without me asking him, are you registered? NYC.gov. Go check your election, your voting site, where you go on November 8th. Some checked, some have not. And then, I still meet people. Oh, I didn't register. Didn't I tell you months ago to go check? No, I didn't go. I was busy. But they love sitting in front of television or their phones and suffer and commiserate, and they meet me and they rip the shirt and they say, Yuri, I'm with you. Yuri, I like your programs, because I'm doing programs on YouTube for 2 years. That's what brought me into politics, like big time. Before that, like everybody else, I just liked talking about it, being on the right side of history.
Yeah.
Doesn't help anybody. It's arranged by great Western civilization, the greatest civilization that was built starting from, some say extraterrestrials, but I would start with Mesopotamians, Egyptians, Hebrews, Romans, Greeks, Dark Ages, they call them. They were lighter than what we have today, trust me. If you go to places where you see art created during Dark Ages, most beautiful things. So that's what pissed me off, because we need to straighten our behavior. I'm sorry. We need to straighten our behavior. We have to get into action, like Steve Bannon says, human agency. And democracy is the tool that is abused left and right, but it has one thing: it gives you your voice. And in this country, like, everybody's laughing in America. Oh, you're so political. You like your voting system. You like your constitution. So let's do it. We have there's notoriety anyway. Let's not disappoint anybody. Let's use our rights. It's just people shed real red blood defending it, and they still do.
Absolutely. And that's a big problem in New York City, is getting the voters out, and I truly believe we are being led by our inferiors currently because of the lack of care. Oh, I'm not into politics. I'm like, everything in life is politics. You come into the precinct every day. You come to work every day and you complain about all of these laws. Why are all the prison why are we locking people up and they're letting them out? Why? We're not doing it. We're doing our job. The NYPD is doing its job. The leadership in the NYPD is doing its job. The politicians are failing us. Politics is failing us. The only way to change that is to get out, register, and vote. I mean, the primaries in New York City were abysmal. You had less than 1/4 of voter turnout. It's disgusting. For people that are fed up, when I turn on that news every day, like you say, and you're going to sit there and commiserate over it and not go to exercise the simplest thing, it's complete insanity to me. And I do believe, though, this is the time and people are waking up. So I'm glad that you're out there. I'm glad that you're awake, and that you're putting your hat in the ring, and you want to make a difference. What specifically was it, though, that drove you? I know you said you like your YouTube channel, you got into making films, but what specifically was it that you were like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna do this. I know it's a big league. I'm gonna go out there. There's a big giant called Goliath down the thing, but you know what? I killed a lion and I killed a bear. So what makes Yuri go out and say, I'm gonna run for Congress?
You know what? I decided that run for Congress. You know what? The thing was that let's start with the real world kind of mechanics.
Sure.
I had my channel, as I mentioned briefly. It's mostly
Yes.
in Russian. So we had a young woman, an attorney, running for city council seat here in the Vernikov, here in Brooklyn,
Yep. Love her.
Brighton Beach, all those areas. So she came to me. I had a show. I was a kind of fixture on political talk on the Russian radio here in New York, or New York-based Russian radio. So she came to my show on Freedom FM 104.7, beautiful station, and we had a program, and she liked my bedside manners, so to speak. I carried her because he was not unsure of her Russian, and program was in Russian. So I, as a professional interpreter, I helped her a lot in a very nice manner. That's behind the scenes, like inside baseball thing. So it can be done. And she said, let's do it again. Let's do another program. So she became a client that she advertised during her campaign. But she said, for the internet, I would like to hire you. And I did ad libs twice a day in the morning, up to 5 minutes. I could talk about her in Russian, and I had a banner, and I did same thing in the evening, and everybody liked it so much. And so everybody started calling me like I was a headquarters. Yuri, what should I do? Where do I register? This and that. That's how I learned a little bit more about the mechanics. And she won.
Yep.
She won the election 2-1. Her opposition was a man who used to be a Republican. He turned into Democrat. He couldn't get elected as a Republican. He was not elected as a Democrat either. But she won, and she credited me openly for her win, in part because I brought so many people to the voting sites. I took them out. I took them to the sites. I said, listen, you like her? You want to change your life? And a lot of people here in New York, we still have what is called a social safety net. And a lot of people think that anything they do against Democrat would pull the rug from under them. And so people are like, they very afraid. That's one of the things that also brought me to this situation, the fear that I feel in the society around me these days, and the cynicism. Because in Soviet Union, again, I have to go back because it has to do with what Russia is today.
Absolutely.
The feeling that you cannot change anything was pervasive. Everybody was through that, so you got to steal, you got to do whatever you need, but you won't be able to change anything. Then one day, boom, Soviet Union's gone. What we have now is not a Soviet Union. It's, Russia, but that's a whole different story. This country is more important. So they all voted, and she won, and we became the reddest area. This district became the reddest district in Brooklyn, and even redder than Staten Island, believe it or not, because how we voted. And based on this, Republican Party and Conservative Party offered me to run. And I remembered Yogi Berra. You see a fork in the road, take it. So I said, give me 2 seconds. No, one's enough. I'm in. So I went in, I started fundraising online. I raised very meager amount. By today's measures, it's nothing. But Brooklyn is plastered with my signs. People know me in the street. Cops came for the incident that I have today when my catalytic converter was stolen in the street. They say, "Oh, we know you. We saw your signs." And it's a huge area. it's 800 and change thousand people living here. 600 of them, 1,000 of them can vote as of 2020. So that's the story here. That's what brought me here, and I'm exploring. I'm seeing that it can be done for much less. We'll see the results, of course, on November 8th. But so far, every day I get well wishes. I go where they told me not to go. Don't talk to people. They said the people who know politics.
Yeah.
Don't try to talk Democrats or who you would consider Democrats, like big Democratic blue collar areas on the map, Canarsie, African American areas who are still working on a plantation for Democrats, in my opinion, but in everybody's opinion. And went there last Sunday. I was there with my volunteers, like 8 of us. And I cannot describe to you the friendly reception that we had there. I was in this cap. Nobody objected. Everybody said, there were people who said, no, they say, I'm not interested. That's how they say it.
Yeah.
But a lot of people said, it's time to do it. And the priest blessed me officially. I didn't want to go into the church because I thought they would be against it. I would wait outside for the end of a mass, and then they said in a Creole church I was brought in. I was blessed in front of everybody. I was given a chance to say a short speech, saying, "This is the show you came to. America is the show you came to become a star of the show. You feel like a star? You feel anybody cares who you are? Nobody cares." They saw first a live Republican in front of them, someone related to Republican Party. because they when people think for themselves, they think, I'm rather Republican than a Democrat. On this, I'm Republican. On that, I'm a Democrat. This, I'm socially conservative. Blah blah blah. But no Republican ever came to them and asked him, "How are you? What do you need?" And in Russian areas, it's easier in a way. I come to them. They sit on the boardwalk. What you gonna give us? They ask me. I say, "What do you want?" I say, "I can give you law and order if you elect me. I can give you U.S. Constitution back. I can give you education for your kids. That's like first three points of my program. This is what we have already in place. This is what we need to fix and paint and refurbish, retool. But the structure is here. Hire cops. Follow the Constitution. It's written. You don't have to come up with anything new. Leave your thoughts to yourself. Restore what worked. And same thing with education. Beautiful buildings. Tears come to my eyes when I saw today we went to Williamsburg. Same story. People love it. Beautiful schools. What they teach inside is a whole different story. A lot of people don't like what's going on with education, but we can fix it by having more competition. We don't fire teachers. They will leave. They will go to better schools. If they're against the garbage, they're forced to teach. And everybody and anybody should have a right to open their own school. Seriously cut the red tape in this department. And whatever money they have left in this education system, that would be, enough to support the teachers. They promised the thingies, whatever the social against social safety net that they promised to them, all those things. But other schools, new schools, should be given a chance and not being, constantly betrayed and fought against. It's not the right way. I believe in competition. My core belief that by really struggling to get better ideas, better ways of life, better concepts that would work, we get ahead in life. This is real progress, not like chasing your own tail or looking for some great crazy Russian ideas or crazy European ideas. Socialism has no room in this country.
Oh, but in New York City, it's sincerely taking hold, and I really I applaud you for going out into those communities where they tell you not to go, because the main problem is, and I would say with any politician, because I'm the kind of guy I really don't care what party you say you're with. If you could sit down with me and have a conversation, because like you did say you're interested in people, you like to learn about people.
Yeah.
And we all, and I think me and you both believe that we don't know everything. We like to learn some stuff. I might be dead set on some issues, but I want to learn from other people. But going out there and actually talking to someone is not things that you see a lot from politicians. Actually talking to people, willing to have answer a question, even hear a question, and so when people see that, that goes a long way, man. It transcends. I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican. It's like, I met Yuri today. I'm speaking with Yuri right now, and I could tell that Yuri's a real person, and I could tell he's not going to stick a knife in my back because, and maybe we won't agree on everything, but Yuri's a real person. I respect Yuri. He came out here, he shook my hand, we spoke on some issues. He told me what he felt about on this issue, and he told me what he didn't feel on the other issue. He wasn't just toting the company line. So I think that'll go a long way for you. I really, really do. And you're right. A lot of people are afraid to talk today. I read a lot of Solzhenitsyn growing up, and I still follow his work. And you did say there is this sentiment like, oh, that the Democrats, they'll pull the rug out, they're afraid. There's like this thing in the air. And one quote that always stuck with me was, he said, one man who doesn't partake in the lie could change the world. One man who stops lying could change the world. So here you are.
I don't feel alone at all. I go to people that I think, I realize that nothing in our world today, when a lot of people, I have 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. Some of them are watching quite regularly. Most of them support me. And I don't feel lonely at all. It gave me kind of got my juices running. My brain started working together. I mean, putting things together. It may not look like this sometimes, but I really feel like it's working better, and it's really something that I understand. People want to see a live person. You need to go to them, and you cannot do it most of the time. You understand, you cannot cover almost 1 million people, shake hands with everybody. But if you go to key situations like I have here, I have deep penetration, so to speak, in the Russian community, Russian-speaking community, and I'm covering those areas that kind of could be impressed by my appearance there. It's not cynical. I'm curious, really. What I'm curious about is, most of all, is it true? And if I go there and people will start, throwing accusations at me, and nobody will hear me out, and everybody will shun me and think I'm a leper coming there in a red MAGA hat. No, not at all. Absolutely not at all. Republicans must be there every week in every neighborhood, having a little office there that would be really working. And people would forget. We only need to do 10% of what Democrats do in Brooklyn, in New York. Yeah, I'll speak for City 8, for Congressional District 8.
Yeah.
If we do 10%, now we're doing like 0.00001. Almost nothing. Everything is concentrated at the headquarters. And there's a big, beautiful road to prosperity. If Republicans pick up the fight, so to speak, you're not supposed to use this word fight, but they'll use it. So they would come to people, and when they asked me on Brighton Beach, when I told them I'll give you this and that, and the security and Constitution and education, they said, Democrats bring us food. They really get some near expired food, and people line up to get the bags of food because they have this food insecurity since the time of communist China or communist Soviet Union. So they feel like the house should be stocked with whatever sweet or sour or whatever stuff they would gather, they could procure. So I asked my friend, I said, I'll give you food. Are you hungry in America? It's really, I mean, we hear a lot of commercials, but in New York, it's really hard to be hungry. People are, I mean, if you look normal, if you don't look like you're gonna chop everybody up with a tomahawk, people will feed you. Not a problem at all. I saw a scene on the subway when there was a woman begging for money. She said, "Oh, I have nothing to eat. I don't." And the woman, both black women, a black woman was sitting, going back from work, and she had the cereal, like several boxes of cereal in her bag, and she took one out, and she gave it to this woman who was begging for support. You cannot imagine the yelling match that started. No, I don't need your bloody cereal, this and that. I need the money. Give me the money. You want to give me something? Give me the money. So it was not about the hunger. I may be wrong. Some people may say, no, you're wrong. We don't have enough food. But I know that in Russian kind of social situations, very few people are hungry. I mean, if they're not taken care of by social services, because they come, it's all, if there are some unique situations, but on the whole, it's okay. So I called a friend of mine. He said, not a problem. I have stuff that I can donate. Good quality food, good cookies, good this and that, condensed milk, like well stored quality items. And I brought it to the community. It could be done. It could be done. The Democrats have no monopoly on this. If you feel like you will support the community by giving them extra food, they may throw it away too, by the way.
Yeah,
Once
my
you turn
government
around. Yeah, but if it makes you look good, the Republicans could do it as well. They just don't do it. If it's a tool, just pick it and use it.
I mean, we're in a Democrat-run state and city, so they're using the funding, that taxpayer funding. So I always hate to hear, oh, they're giving it to us. They're really not. The budget's not going to change if you elect a Republican, but maybe the money gets allocated a little better. Maybe the money gets allocated a little
Yeah,
better.
no, absolutely. And one thing that I mean, I don't get pissed off about many things, or but when I do, I I'm really pissed off. What am I most pissed off is that the politics come from Washington. I didn't understand it in full until I got in this whole situation with election, and the politicians here, starting from the mayor and now governor, present governor Hochul, they are all driven by Washington politics. They don't care about what's good for people, what's good for the business here, what makes our people rich. They only want people live on handouts because that's how they stay in power forever. They should be thinking more about making more New Yorkers rich, not about getting money from Washington for programs like building this 10 cities for refugees. This is what our Eric Adams is doing, our mayor. It's just like most countries, they found a very convenient way of running their economics, like Mexico or Uzbekistan or many other countries, Ukraine until recently, and Russia until recently. They just say, you want to leave? You don't like it here? Go to your America. They will give you means to support yourself. We don't need to build anything. We will live on remittance. You send money back to your families. Maybe you come back like so many Uzbeks do. They make a couple of bucks here, they go back, they build a huge house over there because it's much less, costs much less, and they live till the till as long as they want there, and it's very comfortable to them. They're used to this way of life. But this country is being used as a money making tool for so many people without benefiting our. I mean, they pay taxes, of course, they do all this, they live the law abiding lives, most of them, but it should be understood that our people deserve to be taken care of first. Which form it will take, I propose what they call laissez-faire. I think that those who are able to achieve, just forget all those ableist crap, all those new definitions, just scoff at them, just ignore them. It's non-existent thing. It's from different planet, doesn't work on planet Earth. If you're able and willing, you got to be able and willing to be rich. That's what we want. This is what people want. Things that bring us here together, and it's may sound very cynical, is it's our common greed. We all want to achieve something in life, and that's the bare bones of our life here. We are peaceful. We don't fight with each other most of the time because we want the same thing. We want to realize our own appetite for life, be it money, be it sex, be it art, be it whatever. So that's what's holding us together. That's what brings us here. This country allows for realization of our ambitions, and that's the long and short of it. This should be allowed. People should be following laws. There should be enough cops, enough justice to keep things in line. But the way people are decided today, I think that I'm nothing. I have nothing against people who want to work for the city or for the government, for the federal, whatever. It's very good, and it gives us excellent human specimen who are great teachers, great cops, great firemen. But there should be people who, like ancient Greeks, would sit on a log and go along the coast to discover new lands, new markets, just paddle, cross oceans, go to space, go to Mars, go to whatever, things, or be successful in on Wall Street, in finance, in construction, again. And this is a person like Donald Trump. To me, he's a hero, and I grew to like him, like so many smarties, so to say. I was into Ted Cruz, not Tom Cruise, Ted Ted Cruz. I thought him a better candidate, but it took me not too long, I must say. On the Russian speaking radio, I may be the first one who started talking about Donald Trump as the proper candidate for presidency in 1916. It went to 2016, of course. So yeah, he's real man with real mistakes, real achievements, and stellar achievements. Thinking of him reaching the presidency of the United States, which is like it's almost like be first man in space, to become president of the United States, and he's the first businessman in this century or last century maybe who was able to get there just by using, life skills, real true skills, understanding, not just throwing money around left and right like Hillary did, like Democrats do. He spent twice as much as she did, and she got the result. He got the result.
Would
So to me, it was really something that again confirmed that I should go and try, not to emulate him, of course, because you cannot emulate him, but it's something that you gotta bring him back. Everybody wants him back. Of people who I meet, not everybody. Okay, some yappies don't. Some people who are in the dark, they don't. But 7 out of 10, 6 out of 10, conservatively speaking, say they want a Republican Congress this year, and it's very encouraging, really encouraging. They just say, I come to them, they think I'm a Democrat because they think everybody who comes to them as politics is a Democrat. I have to say, on the average, 3 times, I'm a Republican. I am a Republican. This is MAGA. This is a red cap. I came to you. You didn't come to me. When people yell at me, why MAGA? Throw it away. I say, you want unity. You mentioned unity. So look at this situation. I came to you in Canarsie. You didn't come to me in Brooklyn and say you want unity. You're a Democrat. I'm a Republican. So actions still speak louder than words, no?
absolutely.
So
Yeah, and
this is
yeah, everybody told him he wasn't. He's crazy to think that he could win. Right? You're not going to win. They told him too. You're not going to win. Why would you win? You're a businessman.
it was like, it is absolutely fascinating, like from the first interview that he gave on American TV, I think as a young man, like first major interview, I forgot, it was this woman from with the he met with her, what's her name, 60 Minutes,
Barbara
and she
Walters, I
said,
think.
what? No, the other one, the other one.
All right, whatever. It doesn't matter. But
Yeah, it doesn't
I
matter.
know the
Yeah,
interview you're talking about.
she's still there. She's still there. And she asked him in every interview, basically, he was asked the same question since, why don't you run for the office? Why don't you come? Would you like to become a US president one day? So he tried once, and then he went out and he won. So that's the arc of the character. Speaking of the screenwriting, you see when the person achieves something, you see the line that he went by to get there. And you don't see any contradiction. He did this, he did that, he did this, he did that, and then he got there as a result of his actions. With Donald Trump, it's absolutely obvious, successful in every step. However, it could look, strange to you. You never wore the Trump fashion style. You never bought Ivanka Trump, a jacket for your wife, or she never bought it for herself. Doesn't matter. He knows how to make things work, and those things were never kind of mean, were never kind of detrimental to American way of life. Just a little aspect they covered. He built a lot in Brooklyn. Some places are still built, Trump named as Trump Village, for example, or Trump property owns them, or they still have the name Trump. However, disgusting it may look to some in the management, but that's what it is. You cannot erase it. So that's the thing. And my website, of course, yuriforus.com. Four could be a number, four could be a word. Uh, you cannot miss yuriforus.com. You get there, you read my 7 points, of which 3 I disclosed. It's law and order, of course, because without law and order, you can go to school. Your parents cannot sit in the park on the bench. People get attacked, and the Constitution is second, because when you have law and order, you can talk about getting people to answer for the crimes, or people can use their rights. Free speech is really trampled upon these days in most vicious socialist style. Second Amendment is no joke, as our president says. This is not a joke. It has to be supported. It has to be defended again, and so on and so forth. And then we have education, as I said. That's important. Everybody knows about it. We don't want kids in each other's pants. We don't want teachers in the pants. Shall I say? Should I say more about that? Then this fourth thing is surprisingly, again, I think it can be done. We have this section 230, I believe, to 30C or C to 30 in the internet. What do they call it? The rules where there's no responsibility of the companies for what content, whatever content they put up. How they call it? Slipped my mind. Anyway, doesn't matter. They should be responsible for how they govern their websites. They shouldn't be censoring things, and they should be strongly supporting no porn and age policies and kids and no violence, because terrible things you can see, especially with what's going on in the world in Ukraine. People put up stuff, I know about it. I don't think it should be seen by everybody, all this violence that's going on in the world, but people really kind of thrives on it, and this is not the right way to do. In history there were certain, you have to jump over certain hoops, certain hurdles to get there. You have to be able to read, to understand, to buy a book, to learn things in life. Now you don't have to do all this, and it really comes to minds that just soak it in, and nothing good comes of it. They emulate, they get a gun, they get a machine gun, they get a hand grenade, and they go to schools and they go kill kids. And that's, to me, it's straight line for what they see online on TikToks, all this stuff. And then, of course, comes energy independence. It's the stupidest thing. It's like the root of all evil, what we have here with the gas policies, with inflation. Just turn on the friggin' tap, turn it on. What's holding you? You run around the world, speaking of President Biden, begging for oil. You're an American, begging. Just simple. Don't go to Venezuela. Go to Texas. Start it go to upstate New York. Upstate New York is thinking we're going to secede. We will set the fracking operation here, and you can go to hell with your, ideas, like New York becoming the abortion capital of the world. Because that's the plan. That's the business plan. Everything else fails except making New York abortion capital of the world, because they do for against everything else. Only this one looks like a shining goal for them.
That, and they take every migrant too, and collapse
Yeah,
and collapse all of our structures and our hospitals and our schools and all of our systems put in place.
yeah, and of course, then the business. I mentioned the business. Business is very important. The business makes people's lives full, and it helps other people around them. People who work for the good companies like Trump organization, they can go to a bank. You used to be able to go to a bank and say, "Listen, I worked for Donald Trump. Can I get a mortgage?" Of course, we know you. We know the company. We know the man who runs it. So why not? Not every one of us is able to start an operation on his own, open a business. So we work for somebody. When we work for somebody, it should be a better company. Than we don't want to work for people poorer than we are or stupider than we are. We have to sometimes, but that's not the goal. And the seventh point, of course, is the foreign policy. And it should be America first. There's no surprise. Some say it's a fascist slogan. Not at all. Take it for its face. It's not, it's like, slogans don't kill people. People do. America first, on the face of it, you cannot say anything against it. First of all, of course, every country should have their first, except don't break the law. Don't break the furniture. Just sit where you are, tight, and make the world around you better.
Yeah.
Well, what's wrong with that?
No, nothing. It's good. It's complete common sense. Everything you said.
Absolutely.
Complete common sense platform. I really I thank you for taking the time to come out and talk to us, because it really is. People need to hear common sense coming out of New York City, and we're not hearing it, and we need that level from New York City on at the national level. So we need common sense people like yourself in there. Hakeem Jeffries, he's a lifelong politician. He's not the voice of the average New Yorker. He doesn't even have the experience of the average New Yorker. You know, you're an immigrant, you came here, you have a ton of life experience. You know, I'm imploring everyone in Brooklyn to really get up, make sure you get out, whether it be early voting, whether it be you go to the polls that day, make sure you get out, you know, look Yuri up. I mean, obviously you could tell he's a genuine person. He came out here today to speak to us. He didn't have to. We're hours away from the election. He's out there. He cares. So Yuri, I leave all my guests with the last word. So if you just want to, anything that you could tell to the voters and to the listeners on this show.
People, we got to vote. Please don't mind my sniffles. I have a little bit of allergy. Season's changing, so I'm not that sentimental. But seriously, we need to try. Until we try, we wouldn't know what works. We try things in life, and this is the safest thing to do. Vote Republican. Not specifically even from me. I would appreciate it if you like what I said, if you think I'm a worthy person of your vote. But we have a good roster of Republicans, the whole column, starting with Liz Zeldin, who's surging in the polls. If you look at those polls, he's surging in the polls. Why? Not just because he has tons of experience. He has a military experience. He has a Congress experience. He has a mayoral experience. He was also endorsed by Donald Trump. After it happened, boom, he took off in polls. Seeing Hochul in the rear view window, rear view mirror, is what we need. Let her go into where she belongs. She does not belong here as a governor of New York. She says things that are unforgivable, un-American, and plain lie. And what she does has a great tinge of corruption. So vote Republican, November 8th.
Oh, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the great and powerful Yuri Dashevsky. Let's get him up there. Let's get him up there.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Let's have fun doing it too.
Absolutely. Let's make New York. Let's restore New York to the Empire State again, so to its glory days, because we could be there again. Thank you, Yuri.
Thank you, Joe.